I fear that this is extremely impressive. Here are the 25 books that I want to read in 2025. This tower is asking for disaster. I think we're just going to go with it. And if disaster strikes, disaster strikes. Never Keep by Caroline Peckham and Suzanne Valenti. I really do want to finish Zodiac this year. I will finish Zodiac this year. Therefore, I want to be able to start this series, which I believe is a prequel series or it's connected in some way. I actually am not 100% sure. I got this book as an ARC when I had never even read Zodiac Academy. So it's on the list because then it motivates me to read Zodiac Academy. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. First of all, this edition is absolutely stunning. I read one V.E. Schwab book on audio, and because I didn't like it, I just felt like I would never read any other V.E. Schwab books. But I do know that people absolutely love this book, and I don't know if I've ever seen anybody read this and not give it 5 stars. And I really want to be a V.E. Schwab girl. A Study in Drowning by Ava Reed. I got this book as a gift, and I wasn't sure if I was like a dark fantasy person. But after reading A Sword of Shadow and Deceit, I feel like dark academia is like my favorite vibe to read. And I do think this falls into that. And I've heard that her writing is very lyrical and very melodic, which I really do appreciate. Lightlark by Alex Astor. I have had so many friends recommend reading this. And I also just love the look of them. Like, I don't know what it is about it, but aesthetically, this just really does something for me. And I love books that have like games. Like anything that has games where people are competing for something, I automatically usually love. And I do think that this has games in it. I just really want to know what the hype is about with 90% of these, or they've been on my physical TBR for way too long, or both. Curious Tides by Pascal Lascelles. I do think this is also like an academia fantasy type of style. I did get the ARC for Stranger Skies, and I was determined to read this before getting into that, and then I got into the biggest slump of my life, and that lasted multiple months, and I just never got to it. So this year I'm determined to get to this. The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. This one literally 90% because Haley Pham loves Catherine Center, and also because this has been on my TBR for way too long. Like, I've owned this and I've never taken a second look at it. There's something about a cover that's this colorful that turns me off of reading it. I don't know why. Like, it's just got too much going on. It's like a tacky piece of wallpaper. Like, it's a room you never want to go in. That's this for me. I've heard nothing but good things about her writing, so I really do want to get to this, and it's really short. So I have no excuse. The Women by Kristen Hanna. I have been meaning to pick up a Kristen Hanna book for literally probably 2 years. I have so many friends who are absolutely in love with Kristen Hanna. I also don't read a lot of historical fiction, which is weird because every historical fiction I have read, I actually have loved. But for some reason, I'm not intrigued to get into them. And I think it's because I hated history as a teenager. I hated it. Like, it was the bane of my existence. I sucked at it. I was so lucky that my high school went on strike the year that I had to take history because I didn't have to write an exam, because I would have failed it because I hated it so much. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. This has literally been a book that I've wanted to pick up for, I think, since the beginning of my journey. Like, first of all, the cover does something for me. Like, I absolutely love just all of the colors and just the theme and the vibes of this in general. I really do love it. And it sounds like something I would really love. I also just noticed that John Green has a quote on the back of this, which, if you don't know, John Green is the author that like started it all way back when I was a teenager. Like, I read his entire collection because I loved his books so much, which I feel like I'm not alone in. A lot of people do feel that way. But then I got older and he stopped releasing fiction. I learned that his brother, Hank Green, actually does write books. And he wrote this sci-fi / like YA kind of, I don't even know how to explain what genre it is. It's like a literary fiction almost. And they were some of my favorite books that I read like way back before I even started reading like consistently, because they were just so fun. So seeing John Green's quote on here is just kind of like, it just feels like it's right. Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. I want to read this because I really do want to get into the world of Brandon Sanderson, but his books are extremely intimidating for obvious reasons. They are so thick and his worlds are so vast and they're just very like high fantasy. And that's terrifying to me. But I have heard that this one is very entry level and it's like a really good way to get into his books and learn his writing style. I also love that I believe this was one of his secret projects where he actually wrote this book during the COVID lockdowns for his wife. And he was never going to publish it, but his wife read it and told him that you need to publish this. And he did. It is honestly such a beautiful book. Like, look at those end papers. So beautiful. Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. I've never read a Mia Sheridan book, and I know that this one seems to like kind of come and go when it comes to circulating and its popularity. Like, I find that I'll see nothing but recs for this book for a month, and then I'll never hear about it again. and then it'll come back a couple months later. People say this one makes them cry. I've learned that anyone who says that books make them cry, I never cry. So I wonder if this will be the one. Mercy by Sarah Kate. Now, you need to go into Sarah Kate books realizing that it's just pure smut, but it's always done so creatively. I am not somebody who like looks for spice in my romance books because I find I get kind of bored. Like it's very standard and usually like quite repetitive in terms of contemporary romance. So when I'm reading like a regular romance book, I actually typically skip the spicy scenes because it's just not doing it for me. Like it's not what I'm there for. But when I read a Sarah Kate book, that's what I'm there for. Like I want to read about the nastiest, dirtiest things that you can think of, and I want to just not have to think about anything else. And her books do that for me. Like there is just very little plot, but the plot that is there makes sense and is interesting, so it keeps you engaged while also just giving you the filthiest smut you've ever read. Those are the type of books that you do not recommend to your grandparents. Double Apex by Josie Juniper. This is a book that I actually feel kind of guilty about because I like begged for this arc. Like I begged for it and then I got it and I did not read it before it was released, obviously, because it released in October. So long since done. But I actually don't know why I haven't read it. I think that the problem was it was around a time where a lot of other books started like to come out that I really wanted to read. So then I started reading those books and I just never got to this one. It's a Formula One romance, which I don't know if I've actually read any, but I really do want to. And this sounds right up my alley for me. So this will definitely get read this year. Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. Literally, I just want to know what the hype is about because I love small town romance and I love cowboy romances. And I have not read this series and everybody loves it. And I love the covers. Like I want a reason to collect the whole collection. So I need to love it. The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna, very similar to the reason I want to read The Women by Kristen Hanna. I just want to experience her books because everybody says that her writing is amazing and I want to know and I want to be one of those people that understands what's happening with this hype. 183 Reasons by Alana Grace. I believe this is like a small town romance. It's by an indie author that I follow on TikTok and I really, really love her content and I love her as a person. I really do want to read one of her books this year. I really like the covers of her books. I just find they really give that small town vibe. There's a second one out. I think it's called 43 Degrees North. I'm really hoping I love this one so that I can pick up the next one. And then I have Throttled by Lauren Asher. I actually have like the original covers of this, which sucks because I don't have the fourth one. But this has been my TBR since I started reading as an adult. Like I think it was in the beginning of my reading journey. I saw somebody selling the set for like $15. So I bought all three. And they've just sat there and have not been read. These are like the indie edition covers. Like there's no publisher. They are stunning. Beach Read by Emily Henry. I fear I have to read this because I bought the special edition when it came out and then I never read it. But I do think this has to be, I have to wait until it gets warmer outside. Like I cannot not read this outside. And right now there is about 4 feet of snow outside and it is minus 25 degrees Celsius. So I will not be reading this until it is at least 15 degrees Celsius, sunny, and no snow. Those are my requirements. And even that, so stretch. Like I'd rather it be 25 degrees. Dark Matter by Blake Crouch is a thriller that I've been wanting to read for a very long time. I do think that it gives like Black Mirror vibes, which are some of my top favorite thrillers. I just really love that style and I love that feeling that you get because it just feels like a play on reality. I've only heard good reviews of this one, so that's why it's on here. And then I have 2 Rebecca Ross books because if you don't know, Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows are my favorite books of all time. The duology has owned my life. I own 4 different copies of it, 5 if you count my little tiny mini guys. But I have 2 books on here from her, A River Enchanted and Sisters of Sword and Song. First of all, these are both beautiful. I did get the second book gifted to me in this series, which is another reason I want to get into it. If it's anything like the Letters of Enchantment duology, I'm going to love it. I have heard that it is quite different, so I don't think I should go into it with those expectations. But I just love her writing, and I just feel like, how can I say that Rebecca Ross is my favorite author if I haven't read all her books? Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. I remember being so excited for this to come out because I loved the Dreamland Billionaires series. I loved every single book in the series. The third one was actually my favorite. I think I'm intimidated by this because it's very thick and I've heard that there's just like a lot of conflict that doesn't need to be there in this one. But then again, I take reviews with a grain of salt. Like I do appreciate looking at people's reviews, but it is not what I base whether I read a book or not on because everybody is so different. Not everybody's going to like the same thing. I've had books that I have avoided forever because people said they didn't like them and they were 5 stars, like Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. I need to know. I feel so out of the know with this one. Like I really do need to know. I need to understand the toxicity. I love drama. Like I live for the drama, not in real life, not in my own life. In real life, yes, but not my own life. Magnolia Park seems like it would be something I would love. I love the toxicity. The Woman in Capitan by Ruth Ware. This is a thriller that I think for some reason I'm worried I'm not gonna love it. So I've been avoiding it, especially because it's one of my book besties, like favorite books of all time. Like I got her into thrillers. Shout out to you, Bethany. But I don't know if I'm in fear that I'm not gonna love it and I have to confront her and say, girl, I didn't love it. Like, I don't want to have to say that, but she has never steered me wrong. I really feel I need to pick up a Ruth Ware book. The Striker by Anna Huang. I remember being so excited for this, especially because I was supposed to receive an ARC for this. Like, I got the email and everything, signed the disclosure, all the things, and then it never showed up and I was really heartbroken. So I bought it myself because obviously I loved the Twisted series. It is literally what got me into like billionaire romances and romances in general. It was the first romance series I read. I love her writing and I love her characters, but for some reason, lately I feel like contemporary romance books have just been getting so thick. I don't know how I feel about that. Like fantasy books, I do understand why they're so thick. And honestly, I shouldn't even care how thick books are because Boys of Tommen, some of the biggest contemporary romance books I've ever read. I love them. Maybe I like long books. I'm just scared of them. Last but certainly not least, we have Quicksilver by Kelly Hart. It's kind of ironic this is the last one I'm showing you because it's probably the next one I'm going to pick up. I've been waiting to read this because I want to tandem read the audiobook with the physical book. If you have not tried doing that, I promise you, you will get through books a million times faster and also understand things a lot more. At least for me, it does really work, so I highly recommend trying it out if you haven't. I got the indie version of this, which I'm really happy I was able to get my hands on, but there are so many beautiful special editions of this out now that I really want to love it so I can collect them all because I have problems with spending money. But Quicksilver by Kelly Hart has gotten so much hype over the last little while, and I love that she documented her journey on TikTok of writing this book. So I really would love to read this so that I can like go back and look and just be inspired by her. I truly want to know what's going on with Kingfisher because everybody's been talking about this man, and I really just want to be a part of it. That is the 25 books I want to read in 2025. Let me know if any of these are on your list for the year because there are some bangers in here, I fear.